Hi, welcome to MOMFIT with Joe Peters. This is Joe, your host. I am super excited to have you here. Thank you for tuning in and being with us every Friday. We are in big um mission to help moms to win the marathon of life without burnout. And because we need thrive. And then with that drive, that requires us working together. So if you are ever having any issues, any questions, any problems around motherhood related to your kiddos or your parenting, and you need additional support, please make sure that you send us a DM. Back there down is my social media. I handle my own social media. And then if I don't know the answer, I will find an expert like the amazing Paula that we have today with us to help us to find out the right thing for you and your family. I am super, super, super excited because um, Paula is a enormous amount of knowledge and wisdom and care. She is a parent coach, and then she is the also owner of a beautiful movement that is Accelerate Empowerment, where she not only coach the parents but works on mentoring the youth and helping them to be that amazing people that they need to be. She is also really passionate about empowering young girls and their families to be the very best version of themselves and supporting their families. Um, I actually didn't knew this, but Paula let me know that according with research, girl self-esteem peaks at age 9. So Paula is being amazing, and as a young girl, she was lacking confidence, like many of us do, especially when we start growing up and start getting into this space. Anxiety, had no idea on how to get any control of her thoughts. And then I spent 15 years as a dance teacher working with young people in dance studios and around all over the UK. And then as that, she started witnessing firsthand how young girls battle with confidence, self-esteem, and body image. The reality is as close as 4 or 5 years old. That is really sad. Um, and then, as a mom of two children, the four children, and two of them are girls, she actually decided that she didn't want her girls to live like that. So she started walking the talk and doing the work first for her and her girls. And then she saw the impact. And Paula, thank you so, so much for being here with us. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. Let's gonna talk a little bit about that journey of your heroine transformation from being that lack of confident little girl into being an advocate and a leader in the field of empowerment of the youth and empowerment of women.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. Um, my thing was, I wanted to give my girls and just girls in my community what I needed desperately growing up, which is somebody who can make me feel like I was enough in this whole world. I think as young girls, we grow up not feeling enough, feeling like we don't look right, we don't act right, if only we were different. So I wanted to be that for the girls in my community and for my daughters. And that's what I really needed growing up. And I feel like I didn't always felt like I was restarting and starting again in life, you know? So I was really excited when I started to sort of go through this transformation of being more empowered. I thought I would love to just share that with those in my community, with the girls that I'm raising, and get those values and lessons instilled in them as early as possible, because then that's how they're going to fly and take up space in this world. So my whole young getting them started to feel empowered and resilient and confident as young as possible, because that's what's really going to carry them throughout their whole life, really.
When you're moving back, I'm missing a little bit your voice. So if you can try to stay closer to the computer like you are right now, not moving much, I
Okay.
will hear you
Yeah,
perfect there. And
absolutely.
I think that that is so powerful what you are saying, because it's true. Is since we are little girls, we start hearing and seeing what we should do and how we should speak and what emotions are not. I always talk, and is I have a boy, but like I think that if I had a girl, I will dress my girl with only boy clothes, because even as tiny little babies, you can start seeing
Hmm.
that, like the shirts and the clothes of the boys is like brave,
Yeah.
power, strong, and the girls is like beauty and nice. Actually, somebody called me into that. And I try to make an effort to never tell a little girl how beautiful she is.
Mm.
Because we never do that to boys. But then since that little, you were like, oh, you're so pretty, your dress. So we move it into that. And I love that you are breaking that part. Now, Paula, I would love for you to talk a little bit about we as parents, either
Mhm.
both, if you are the mom of a girl, how you can start breaking that pattern for the new generations, but also if you are not the mom of a girl, if you are the mom of a boy like me, or if you, that is being a lot of um so media advertising here in the US at least, if you are a cat mom, a childless cat mom, how we can all break this into allowing the girls to get confidence, because you felt it, I felt it.
Yeah.
I don't know any single, I don't think, and I will challenge, and if you know it, please tell me, but I will challenge everybody that is hearing us. If you know any author, a writer, a book, a biography, where their journey of a female is being that she was always confident and that she
Mm.
was always, I never, and I read a book every month. I never found that. It's always
Mm.
I was lacking confidence. I was not feeling enough. I was trying to fit, and then I break free. So I think that your mission, like mine, is closing that. We don't need to get free. We need to stay free since we are little. How we can do that as adults for those new generations to come.
I think that the first thing with young girls is that I feel like we force young girls to grow up quickly, a lot more than we do for the boys. And I know that young girls do, in general, mature faster, but we should still allow them to be children, you know? And that comes with things like giving them more responsibility. Even my daughter, she gets put on the table with the sort of naughty boys to sort of even them out. And that's not her job to do that, but she's been given that job because she's a sensible girl, you know. So they've labeled her as sensible girl, come and help me calm down these boys. So we give girls responsibility a lot more than boys a lot earlier. So I think we should allow girls to be as young for as long as possible. Girls have to struggle with is their body, right? So as soon as they start sort of going through puberty, immediately they're sexualized already. So then um, we start as parents, even though we don't mean to, but we do start policing what they're wearing. So now, if they're in a bathing suit and they're 9, 10 years old, we're like, cover up, don't wear a two-piece, wear a one-piece, and we start, and that's only because we know that see their body as an object, but they're still children, and that's what causes that sort of dip in self confidence in young girls because then they start to realize, oh, how I look really dictates how people treat me. So, therefore, how can I look in a way that fits in with this little box that society approves of? Then I can feel approved of, and then I can feel accepted because that's all a child. Everybody wants to feel accepted, don't they? And it's that at that young age when they realize that how they look and how they perform becomes that's how they're treated. So they start to sort of change, wanting to change how they look. They wanted to start people pleasing, that kind of thing. And and if we can really make a conscious effort to treat girls in a way the way we treat boys, which is we give them a lot more a lot more freedom, be sort of immature and just take their time growing up, and not put so much pressure on them at such a young age because society puts so much pressure on girls. And I think if as parents can do that, especially in the home, that would go a long way to sort of reducing that pressure and that expectation on them.
And I think I love, 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 love what you said because um that was something that I grew up with, and that was like, oh, um, you need to understand as a girl that boys your age are less mature than you.
Yeah.
So it's your job to understand that they are slower in develop, that they are not as fast and catching things. But we never hear the boy saying, oh, you need to realize that she is mature faster than you. You need to, instead of saying it to the girls, oh, go down to meet them at the level that they are, we never tell the boys, you need to go up
Yeah.
and meet the girls at the level that they are because they are maturing faster. So I think that is one of those ironies and hypocrisies that we see in society. And I love what you are saying is, um, with things, for example, I see it with my son, with special things like, for example, chores. and
Mm,
and with females, especially in the old generations, it was more like, since they were 4 or 5 years old, it was the girl will go into learning the chores, into helping with the kitchen, into helping with cleaning, and where the boys were outside playing and having fun as kids, and the girls were literally tiny adults doing household chores, and seeing that, like you were saying, as their badge of proud, like, this is how I receive kudos, this is how I receive love, this is how I receive
mm,
gratitude, so this is the role that I need to perform.
hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? That really just I'm so passionate about not doing that in my household because I was brought up in a traditional sort of African upbringing where there is a hierarchy and the men are at the top and the women are at. So, and my son, because my eldest is a boy, and in the extended family, he gets treated like that. They go to the grandparents and he gets to sit down and on his phone. And then my daughter, who's younger than him, gets called to get the plates and set the table and all that kind of thing. And there's no reason why he can't do that. Why are we? And even my daughter says to me, how come he gets to sit and play, play sort of games while I have to get up and do things? And I tell her, you know what, it's not right, but generation, that's what they do. And I explained to her that they do that, but we don't do that in our household. So sometimes I understand that the older generation may still do that, but we are allowed to set the values and the tone in our home for our generation. And that's what I really, really am passionate about doing. We can do things differently so that our children can be different and their children can be different. So hopefully in the home, if you start doing down into further generations. Hopefully, that's the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with that one, I think that another thing that I want to talk with you, and I will ask you to talk and then maybe do short phrases and stop, because I don't know what's happening, but I hear you perfect and then I lose
Mhm.
you and then I hear you back. So maybe if we keep them like shorter and we
Yeah.
will just do it slow. So because you are having so much amazing things that I don't want anybody in the world to miss what you are saying. Um, the other thing that I was thinking on this is expressing our emotions.
Mm,
And even when I think that this one is across the board for girls and boys. The thing is that unfortunately with boys, we just majority of society just teach them to not express them and to not have them. But then with females is about those standards. Like I don't know if you are familiar with that, but I was so sad hearing people attacking a female politic because of the way that she laughed, because she laughed too much, because she laughed from her belly, from her gut, because when she's laughing. And that was a critique. And then the part that hit me the most is our little girls are watching that, and our little girls that life like that are seeing all that hate and all that criticize and all that. So what they are doing is they're mirroring that back and say like, "Ah, I need to stop showing my emotions like that. I need to stop doing this." When I was in corporate, I have this thing that when I'm really upset, I cry. Like if
mm,
I'm really, I always tell people, if I'm crying, ask me if something bad happened, and if I say no, run, because I'm so upset I'm gonna kill somebody if I'm crying
mm,
and nothing bad happened. um but then I was always so afraid to cry, because then if I was upset and angry, and the man working way to handle that anger was yelling and hitting the table and making a big tantrum, my way to do it was just with tears. But then I was not allowed to show my way to handle my emotions, because immediately it was going to be against me in my career, because then, oh, you are so emotional, oh,
mm.
you cannot get a shit together, oh, we need to be careful. So I was going to talk about that from your perspective as a youth mentor and a parenting coach, into how we can be more healthy in the way that we show our children, girls and boys, a healthy way to express their emotions and grow up understanding that each emotion is important and valid.
Absolutely. I think it starts with letting our children have their emotions. You're allowed to have your feelings, feel your feeling. What we need to work on is how to express it in a healthy manner. And then the other thing is with girls in particular, because we know that with girls, there's this thing of you're too emotional, you know, girls always cry. And it's removing that stigma that girls are emotional and there's nothing wrong with that at all, and not making it a negative thing, and letting boys know that they can be emotional as well, because emotional does not mean weak, because we've given emotion as weak and we've given that to the girls, and we've given strong and holding your emotions back, and giving that to the boys. And it's letting our children know as parents there is space, there is space for both. There is time and a place for both. And it's about helping our children express their emotions and finding healthy ways to express their emotions and giving our children the space to do that. But we as parents struggle, I think, because we don't do that for ourselves. We put down, stuff down our emotions. So it's uncomfortable for us to allow our children to do it because we were maybe. So if we start by allowing ourselves to feel our emotions, we're more likely to help our children be able to feel their emotions and express it in a more healthy manner.
And I think that that's so beautiful, and I love it because it was right on spot with what happened today with my boy. um I think that part of that fear is that because I, for example, never was taught how to handle big emotions like anger and frustration, or sadness. So because of that, I'm always very scared of letting those emotions, not because I'm still learning how to communicate those emotions in a healthy way. And I think that a lot of the time for parents is that fear of almost wanting our children to know and think that we are perfect and that we are superheroes and that we never screw up. So then, because of that, then it's safer to not show the emotion, or to, even worse, that happen a lot with parents, show the emotion in an unhealthy way and then ignore it and pretend that never happened. Because if I pretend that never happened, then we don't need I don't need to get into the conversation.
Mhm.
And I love what you were saying, that it's okay to go to that journey. Like, I was having a really difficult time with my toddler this week because we are alone. And then he is a 3-year old, so he's hitting and making messes. So he was making a mess, and then I went literally back to when I was a little girl, and then I say something that I promise that I will never say ever to him, and I say it today. I say, like, I'm gonna throw your toys in the trash, because if you keep them in this mess, then you don't need to play with them. And then his little face changed, and then he started crying. We calm down, and then, to know, like, we talk about it when we were leaving for school, he looked at me and say, Mommy, are you going to throw my toys when I'm go to school? So then I stopped the car and I said, you know what, no, that was not a good choice from Mommy, but Mommy was really frustrated, and Mommy make a mistake, and I am so
Mhm.
sorry. I will never say this again to you. That is not true. I will never throw your toys. We need to work on picking up. But it was matter of me allowing myself to feel the emotion, and then, after the fact, when I knew that I didn't handle the emotion well, that I explode because the emotion was bigger than my skills to handle it, then be able to go back and repair and say, you know what, Mommy screw up. And he was like, why you make mistakes? It's like, because we all make mistakes, including Mommy, and I'm sorry. And did that scare you? And he was like, yes. I was like, okay, I'm so
Oh,
sorry. That was not my intention. But I think that is part of what you were saying of start with us. And it's scary
mhm.
because nobody taught us that. Like, I actually never remember. And if you came from a upholding of a very conservative, traditional, African culture, you know this too.
Yeah.
That our parents say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I screw up," or "I'm sorry, I yell." It was always like, "I yell because you blah, 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 blah," or "You made me this." So, I think that that is a very empowered point of view. How we can, because I know that you are big on this, how we can maintain that identity that we have in motherhood, or reclaim it if it's lost,
Mhm.
and still keep learning things like letting our emotions be felt, and learning how to express them in a healthy way.
I think everything starts with self awareness and knowing yourself. And a lot of people uh, don't take the time to sit with themselves and figure out what they want, why they do what they do, and what they don't want. They sort of just get pushed along in life, and then wonder why they end up wherever they end up. So self awareness is the big thing, because then once you know who you are, then it's easier to reclaim who you are when you become a mother. Because when you become a mother, it's so easy to sort of be swept along with motherhood, and not just swept along, be swept under the whole tsunami of motherhood and what you should be doing, shouldn't be doing as a mother now, and how your life has changed, and it's all about your kids, and there's no space for you, which is not true at all. Once you know who you are, your likes and dislikes, try and start maintaining that and doing that in motherhood, because you deserve to thrive as well. If you enjoy music, and once you've had your kids, you stop listening to your favorite songs, or you stop singing or dancing around the kitchen, start doing those things again. Reclaim what you love to do. There's space for yourself, and there's enough for your kids to fill up your heart. You don't have to eject yourself to make space for your children. There's space for all of you. And the healthier you are, the more joyful you are, the more you walk into who you are, the better example you are for your children. The better you show up for them. You won't resent them because you feel like they stopped you from doing what you love to do, and you will maintain that joy. And I think with motherhood in general, it can feel sometimes just so much work, just constantly work, work, work. You got to do this, you got to do that. Make sure they're doing this. Make sure they eat. Make sure So how can we reclaim joy in motherhood? And that starts with reclaiming joy within yourself. So do what you love. And in the beginning, it can be hard when the babies are really, really young to find the time. 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Take that for your own self care, for things that bring you joy. And then you can pour more joy into your household and into your children. It is so, so, so important.
I love that, and that is a topic that we always talk here, and that is the part of that self care. And I know that you are an advocate for that, and it's beautiful to see it from your point of view, because you are not only seeing it from the point of view of the parent and the woman, but because of your job as an empowerment coach for youth, you are seeing it as the impact that that has on them. And it's funny because we want the best for our kids, and then it sounds so funny, but the best thing for our kids, especially for our girls, is that they grow up watching a mom, like you were saying, that is having fun, that is taking time, that is leaving once per month to see her girlfriends,
Mhm.
to do all of those things. Because um monkey see, monkey do. It doesn't matter how much we are going to try to tell our girls and our boys, you can be confident and you can pursue your dreams and you can pursue your goals. If that is not what they grow up with at home, and if they don't see that in mom and dad, and instead of that they see a selfless approach where mom is always last and dad is complaining about how he hates his work, doesn't matter how much we tell them that we want something different for them, the chances of them recreating that are very high, because that is what in their subconscious is becoming, that is the normal, that is the reality. So I want you to share a little bit into that empowerment of the youth, how following our passions as parents, how making a priority of our self-care and our happiness makes us not only better to be parents, but taking that time for me is making my children better in the future too.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said monkey see, monkey do. Children, our children, young people in general, will always do what we do, not what we say. So we can nag them all day. We can try and, put them into sports and after school activities and tell them you can be anything you want. But if they know that you had a dream and did not pursue your dreams, if they know that there's something that you enjoy doing but you don't do it, that's the message that they're getting, and especially our young girls, because we know that more often than not, it's the woman that puts her dreams on the back burner, her hopes, her desires, on the back burner to raise her children, to put her family first. So especially our young girls, when they see that example, that's more likely what they're going to emulate. Or yes, you might get the odd where they grow up thinking, don't want to be at all like my mother. I want to do the opposite of my mother. But generally, those little seeds are what makes up how they see the world. So and it sounds like a lot of responsibility as a parent because it is, but how we live, we are we are our children's first role models, you know before any singers, actors, or whoever else, they look up to us first. So, what are we showing them? What are we showing them that they can hope to aspire to? Is it a job they hate every day? You know, is it not doing anything that they enjoy? Because I had a friend who said her daughter said to her, "Why don't grown-ups have fun?" You know, why don't grown-ups look after yourself? You know, that just shows you that young people are watching us thinking, why is mum not having fun? And I want my children to see me having fun, because then it sort of gives them permission, that life is fun, life is joyful. Otherwise they can think being adult is just work after work after work, which it is sometimes. But we have to inject a little bit of joy into there. And especially when you're trying to raise your children differently to how you were, you have to live it. You can't just tell them I'm doing things differently than my mother did. You just have to live it, and they will follow, your example. So I'm really big on living what you want to show your children, the next generation, not just telling them.
And I love what you are saying into the joy and what they are seeing. And reminds me, yesterday I was watching an ad, a meme of talking that Inside Two, Inside
Hmm.
Out Two,
Yeah.
become the best animated movie ever. It actually get better than Frozen 2.
Wow.
And it made me think in what you were saying, because that movie especially is about all those emotions. And in Inside too, when she started becoming a teenager, there is a scene that is going viral where Joey says, well, maybe this is what happened when we grow up. Maybe we stop feeling as much joy. And I think that that hits a lot of the grown-ups as much as the kids into, wow, that is true, but I don't want my baby, I don't want my son, I don't want my daughter to do the same, to miss joy and get into that. So on that one, how we can be careful into what we say to our children and how we act on terms to encouraging that they have fun, that they enjoy, that they feel joy, um, instead of just maybe making a priority doing the homework and school and working hard, but allowing them to do that. Because I think that sometimes, um, and this is on my archetypes work, but sometimes, for example, things like they are teenagers or the girls that like to be cuddling in the sofa reading a book, and that brings them joy. That feeling of having a blanket and a book, just getting their imagination with, I don't know, Harry Potter or whatever, is joyful. But then they hear mom or dad or grandma and grandpa, oh, why you are so lazy, why you don't get up there and do something productive, why you don't stop reading those books, and then if you're going to read a
Mm.
book about chemistry, I don't know. So how we can protect that innocence and that natural attraction to joyful things, to pleasure that we as children had, and based on society and that stigma of you
Mhm.
need to be productive, you need to get results, you need to be the best, start taking away from that.
Mhm. I think it all starts with allowing your children to enjoy what they enjoy, because I think sometimes parents do two things. One, we have all these expectations for who we think they should be and what we think they should like. which is really based on what we like or what we wanted to do when I was a kid, we were young. Allowing like what they like, allowing them to do what they like to do, right? And realizing that they're their own separate individual and not putting judgment on what they like to do. I went through this with my eldest. I'm a big reader. When I was young, loved had my head in the book. My daughter's like that. My son, not so much, right? And that's okay, really. But at first, I was a bit like, oh, and I kept buying him all this different kind of try this book, try this book. But he's a gamer. He's into computing and computers and making games, and that's okay. Let him enjoy what he enjoys. And I had to learn not to put a judgment of it on what he likes to do and say, "Oh, such a waste of time. Why do you like to spend time doing that? You could be doing this." Let them find their own joy. We can't dictate somebody else's joy. Now, I'm not saying don't encourage them to do other things and open up a whole world of different activities for them. Of course, do that. But we should also trust that they know what brings them joy more than we do. And if your child loves to sit on the couch with a blanket with a book, and your instinct is to say, go outside and I don't know, jump on the trampoline or whatever, why not leave her be for a little bit? Let her enjoy her time. And then maybe later you can suggest, let's do this, but don't maybe interrupt the moment that she's or he's enjoying just to suggest something else. Let's trust that our children know what brings them joy. And as much as we can, join in with their joy. Hey, what are you reading? What are you playing? What are you watching? Show me, tell me about it. Join in with it. And that makes them feel it makes them feel like you're interested in them and what they do, not that you're putting a judgment on it that they shouldn't be doing it. Because then you don't want them to start hiding things from you and saying, "Oh, mum doesn't understand or dad doesn't get it. That means they don't get me." No, join in with their joy. Let them have what it is that they like to have. They're individuals and they're not us.
I love that. And I love that curiosity and being humble enough to know that just because we are the adult and they are the children doesn't mean that we cannot learn from them. And
Mm,
if, especially if it's something as opposite as us, like if you are being always a sports person, I'm dealing with that right now because I always was a sports person. I play water polo in Colombia in the national team, and I love sports. And I had my son in swimming, and he's loving swimming, and then I moved him into soccer, and he don't care anything about soccer. But then instead, I see and breaks my heart seeing some of these parents that are like, "I already paid for this, and you need to be in the field, and you need to play, and you need to kick the ball." And I see these kids crying, and the parents bring them back. No,
mm,
I am in the field and he stays in the side of the field. And if he kicked the ball twice, fine.
mm,
I'm not going to force him to do it. I want to expose him because it's something that I love, because I love soccer, because I'm from Colombia. And my husband was like, "We are not going to pay this anymore. This is a waste of money." I'm like, "No, I'm going to pay it again because I want to expose him to a sport that I love."
mm,
That doesn't mean that I'm going to force him. That doesn't mean that this is going to become a traumatic experience for him. But I love what you say from the other side. For example, with me with the sports, if I'm a sports person, I'm always into being active outside. And if I have a kid that loves being inside and draw or read, why we don't just, instead of trying to push them into what we think is the right
mm,
way to be joyful, into what we think is the right way to be happy, go back and say, "Hey, what are you reading? What do you like reading that much?
mm,
Can you share with me?" I think that that is a great advice that you are giving all the moms and dads that are listening to us, and is how you can promote the joy in your children by being curious on learning what
mm,
makes them happy and what makes them feel good. Now,
mm,
this is one topic that especially us moms get really scared about, and that is we are always afraid that it's too late. That I
Mm.
wish I hear Joe and Paula when I was pregnant, but my son or my daughter is already 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 or 12 or 14. It is too late. So, what we can say to these moms that are feeling like that?
Do you know what? It's such a cliche, but I believe that it is never too late to start and to start again, no matter where you are in your life. As long as you've got breath in your lungs, it's always an opportunity to start again. And you know what? There might have been disappointments and there might have been regrets, but everything that's happened to you, you're taking into the future with you. And I'm a big believer that things may have been painful that have happened, but nothing is ever wasted. So every every experience you've been through has brought you to where you are now. So now you get to decide, what am I going to do now? So if you want to start that business, you start the business. There's no point saying, I wish I'd done it X amount of years ago. Because the other thing I believe in is accepting what is. Okay, I'm not 25. I can't, I can't fight that. Did I wish I could have started what I'm doing then? Maybe, but I do it now. And it's still okay. And you can still have your impact. Time is going to pass anyway. Time doesn't stop for certain people and it goes speeds up for certain people. We all have time and time goes on. So you get to decide, what are you going to do with that time. If you have a certain dream, instead of saying it's too late, you say, I'm still alive. It starts today. You still have today, and be sort of grateful that there's still life. So I always say, when my kids say, "Oh my gosh, growing older. Oh my gosh, I don't want to grow old." It's a blessing to grow old. That means you're alive. That means you've got life ahead of you. And when there's you've got life ahead of you, that means there's potential. So what are you gonna do with your potential? Instead of looking at what's gone, look at what's ahead. So I always say to people, what is it you want to do? Start today. A small step. If you always wanted, look up the nearest dance class in your neighborhood. Even if you're 55, 65, doesn't matter. Look it up and go along one day. Even if you just go along to look through the window and see what they're doing, take that step, because your life is worth living and it's precious. You know. So, and as long as you've got breath in your lungs, you have the opportunity to do something. So do something. That's what I say.
And I love that, and I think that part of that will be also very beautiful into going full circle back into sharing our emotions and what we are not good is having that
Mhm,
conversation with your child
mhm,
and tell them, hey, mommy didn't knew better and mommy didn't did these things before because mommy didn't know, but mommy heard these two amazing ladies talking and mommy wants to try this.
mhm,
Depending on the age that they are, you can have more or less detail, but it is okay.
yeah.
It is okay to tell because I think also it becomes a safety blanket to say it
Mm,
one way, and it's like, well, my kids are already too old and I cannot start this right now, so how I'm going to explain them that I'm going to be changing the way that I parent. And then that is part of being uncomfortable and being the adult and say, hey, yes, this is changing and this is why, and I didn't knew better and I'm sorry that I didn't knew better, but now I know better, and because I know better now, I can choose to do it differently.
mhm. Definitely, definitely. It's all about that choice. And I think so often we feel like we don't have a lot of choice when we do have a choice. And realizing that, what is your intention for the future? I always say, especially with parenting, you're parenting for the future. So even if your child is 8 or 18, any change you make that benefits them and benefits you will benefit them in the future. So, don't hesitate doing something because you think it's too different. Give it a go, you know. And earlier you were sharing about, you said to your little boy that you were sorry about something you did. You know, I think I love you is a powerful thing to say to children, but I'm sorry is even more powerful because you're showing them that you're human. Everybody makes mistakes, and they're allowed to make mistakes, and we all love each other anyway.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely love it. And it's so, so true. Paula, you share so many amazing things. And I hope that everybody around the world that is watching us use this weekend to start reflecting how we are first empowering ourselves and taking care of ourselves and living a life full of joy. So we can do that for our kids, but also, are we doing that for our kids in a daily basis? Thank you so much. As we start wrapping the show, I will absolutely love if you share one last message for all these moms that are watching us in the world. What you will tell them about empowering and helping that new generation to actually have everything to rock it, and then how people can connect with you, how they can keep learning from you.
Absolutely. I'd love to tell the mums and everybody that's listening and watching is look after yourself. That's the best way to look after your children. And whatever you hope for your child to achieve, maybe in life, start with your. You want to empower your child, empower yourself. The more you're empowered, the more your children will empower. So please look after yourself is the best way to look after your children and the next generation. You can find me on the website accelerateempowerment.com. That has all the details of my youth empowerment programs and also my parent coaching programs. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching for parents as well. And then I'm also on empowerment, and you can find me on Facebook as well. Just Google my name on Facebook and also on Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to connect with you wherever you are in the world.
So now you so go to Facebook or Instagram, Paula as Lawrence, find her, send her a DM, send me a DM at Joe Unicorn Coach. Tell us what was your biggest takeaway. Tell us what was the thing that make you think the most. Because I will close with something that Paula said several times during the show, and is it's never too late. It's about what you are doing next. And I love this phrase of the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. So it's not about everything that you didn't do, it's about what you can do now that you are understanding that is so important for us to empower our girls, to empower um, our children to be who they are, like a little summary of what Paula says, sharing their emotions, pursuing their passions and making a priority of self care, and putting into themselves. And moms, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to say it anyway. They will not do it if you don't do it. So, with that being said, Paula, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure and an honor. I know that I've been waiting for this show because we had to cancel one earlier on the year, but I'm super excited that it's finally here. And for everybody else that is watching the show, thank you for joining us every Friday. I will see you next Friday, same time, with another episode of MOMFIT with Joe Peters. Also, remember this show can be heard at the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.